Moving into a new house is always a mix of excitement and apprehension. The thrill of a fresh start, the prospect of making new memories in a new environment, it all seemed so promising. And yet, as I stood in the doorway of my new home, boxes stacked around me like a fortress of unpacked potential, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease creeping up my spine. The house itself was charming, a quaint little place nestled in a quiet neighborhood. It had character, with its creaky floorboards and vintage fixtures. It was the kind of place that felt like it had stories to tell, and I was eager to become a part of its narrative. The first few days passed by in a blur of unpacking and settling in. I attended my college classes during the day, and in the evenings I would come home to my new sanctuary, grateful for the solitude it provided. But as the nights grew longer, I began to notice something peculiar. It started with subtle noises of faint rustling in the kitchen, a soft thud from the hallway. At first, I dismissed them as the sounds of an old house settling into its new surroundings, but as the noises persisted, my curiosity turned to concern. I would lie awake in bed, listening intently to the mysterious sounds that echoed through the empty halls. Sometimes they would come in the dead of night, while other times they would wait until the early hours of the morning. No matter the time, they always seemed to be just out of reach, like whispers in the darkness. I tried to rationalize the noises, attributing them to everything from rodents in the walls to the wind outside. But deep down, I knew there was something more to them, something that defied explanation. One fateful night, as I lay in bed listening to the familiar symphony of sounds, something shifted in the air. There was an eerie stillness that settled over the house, a silence so profound it was almost tangible. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, the silence was shattered by a sound unlike anything I had heard before. It was a soft, melodic hum, barely audible above the gentle hum of the night. It seemed to be coming from the direction of the kitchen, beckoning me with its siren song. Against my better judgment, I found myself drawn to it, compelled to uncover the source of this otherworldly melody. With trembling hands and a racing heart, I slipped out of bed and made my way towards the kitchen, my footsteps echoing loudly in the empty house. As I reached the doorway, the humming grew louder, filling the air with its haunting melody. And then I saw it. Standing in the center of the kitchen was a figure shrouded in shadow, its form indistinct and ethereal. It seemed to flicker and fade in the dim light, like a ghostly apparition summoned from the depths of the night. I froze, my breath catching in my throat as I stared at the spectral intruder before me. It seemed to sense my presence, turning towards me with eyes that burned like embers in the darkness. For a moment, we stood there locked in a silent standoff, neither daring to make a move. And then, with a suddenness that took my breath away, the figure began to move. It glided towards me with an otherworldly grace, its movements fluid and effortless. Panic surged through me like a tidal wave as I stumbled backwards, desperate to escape the grasp of this supernatural entity. But before I could so much as blink, the figure was upon me, its icy touch sending shivers down my spine. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my lips as the specter reached out towards me, its fingers grazing my skin like a whisper in the night. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure was gone, vanishing into thin air, as if it had never been there at all. I stood there trembling, my heart pounding in my chest as I struggled to make sense of what had just happened. In that moment, I knew one thing for certain: there was something lurking in the shadows of my new home, something that defied logic and reason. And as I stood there in the darkness, I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets this house held, waiting to be uncovered in the dead of night. After that harrowing encounter with the spectral figure in my kitchen, my once beloved new home transformed into a place of fear and uncertainty. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside seemed to take on a sinister meaning, as if the very walls of the house were conspiring against me. I tried to rationalize what I had seen, convincing myself that it was merely a trick of the light or a figment of my overactive imagination. But deep down, I knew the truth. There was something haunting my home, something that defied explanation. Night after night, I lay awake in bed, my mind racing with thoughts of the apparition that had invaded my sanctuary. I was plagued by nightmares, visions of shadowy figures lurking in the corners of my room, their eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. Despite my growing terror, I was determined to uncover the truth behind the haunting of my home. I spent hours scouring the internet for answers, delving into the depths of paranormal forums and obscure websites in search of clues. But no matter how much research I did, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something, some crucial piece of the puzzle that would unlock the mystery of the ghostly apparition. It was as if the answers were right in front of me, tantalizingly close yet maddeningly out of reach. In my desperation, I turned to more unconventional methods of investigation. I consulted psychics and mediums, hoping that they would be able to shed some light on the supernatural forces that plagued my home. But their cryptic messages only served to deepen the mystery, leaving me more confused and frightened than ever before. As the days turned into weeks, my fear only continued to grow, gnawing away at my sanity like a festering wound. I became paranoid, jumping at the slightest sound and seeing shadows lurking in every corner. I stopped leaving the house altogether, barricading myself inside like a prisoner in my own home. But no matter how hard I tried to hide from the truth, it always found a way to reveal itself to me. One night, as I lay huddled in my bed, I heard the familiar hum of the spectral figure echoing through the empty halls of the house. Only this time, it was accompanied by a voice that sent chills down my spine with its unearthly timbre. "Leave this place," the voice whispered, its words carrying a weight of centuries-old wisdom. "You are not welcome here." I wanted to flee, to escape the clutches of the malevolent entity that haunted my home. But something compelled me to stay, to confront the darkness head-on and uncover the truth behind the haunting of my new house. And so, with a courage born of desperation, I resolved to face my fears and confront the spectral figure that had terrorized me for so long. Little did I know that my journey into the heart of darkness would reveal secrets far more sinister than I could have ever imagined. With the support of friends and loved ones, I began to uncover the history of the house, piecing together the puzzle of its past one clue at a time. And as I delved deeper into its secrets, I discovered that the ghost that haunted its halls was not a malevolent spirit, but a lost soul searching for peace. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I reached out to the ghost, offering it solace and understanding in the hopes of helping it find the closure it so desperately sought. And to my amazement, the ghost responded in kind, its visits becoming less frequent as it found comfort in my presence. In time, the ghost faded away completely, leaving behind nothing but memories of a shared journey and a newfound sense of peace. And as I stood in the doorway of my home, bathed in the warm light of the morning sun, I knew that I had finally found my place in this world, a place where even the darkest of shadows could be overcome by the light of hope and understanding.